We discuss the latest news surrounding Moises Caicedo. Conor Gallagher has been told he is now surplus the requirements at our football club. And to end things, we discuss exit news around Hudson-Odoi, Mendel, Idowu, plus a lot more, my friends. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit that like button, share your thoughts and opinions as well too, my friends. But before we get into anything, today's video is brought to you by OneFootball. Today's headlines have been dominated by Kylian Mbappe. As we know, Paris Saint-Germain have put him on the transfer list, and currently today, Al Hilal are making the most concrete offers and attempts to try and sign him, and the money and wages they're offering are crazy. It's breaking records. And for me, this is why I like OneFootball, because I can stay up to date to all the big stories happening from across Europe. Naturally, Kylian Mbappe, the biggest story dropping today. And you're getting all the latest articles just like that very quickly. So for me, I call OneFootball a companion app for a reason, because if you're a football nerd, if you're a football lover, you're bound to find something convenient that OneFootball is going to help you with. So my friends, download OneFootball, try it for yourselves. You'll find a link below in the description and the QR code on screen too. So right now, my friends, let's discuss these latest reports around Conor Gallagher. And it has been confirmed today that the club have made Gallagher surplus the requirements. So if you're a Gallagher fan, it's probably sad news. It's probably a sad day for you. But to be fair, the club have been very open now to selling Gallagher for over a year. And I've said this story multiple times, but Everton had an offer accepted of 40 million back in January, only for Gallagher to turn that down himself. Now other clubs like Newcastle, and now recent interest from Spurs and West Ham, Gallagher has suitors. But it's also quite curious that we're announcing this news so early, as this confirmed the fact that we are hoping now to sell Gallagher to really start reinvesting back into our midfield. I mean, as we know right now, Kudus is one of the main players being looked at, and in that sense, he does fulfill certain capabilities and roles that you'd expect from a Gallagher. He can easily play in midfield, he can play as a 10, plus you have additional positions you can use Kudus in, and knowing how we have such misfortune with injuries every season, having a few more players who are very comfortable in multiple positions, that could help us out in the long run. Regardless, reports state that Gallagher has accepted his fate. Now, for a long time now, he's been fighting to stay here. He wants to prove himself here. He's been at this club for over 17 years old. I think that a lot of us fans forget how deep the ties are, because if you're basically a kid at this football club and you've remained here ever since, and you're growing up throughout the academy and all the other factors around the club too, I mean, it's no surprise why those bonds are going to be very deep. And it's an interesting one, because Pochettino is more than happy at keeping Gallagher. We've seen him play the past 2 preseason games and he's scored 2 goals. And to be fair with you, I feel like now that Gallagher's playing a more box-to-box role, which kind of suits the needs that Pochettino wants in his midfield, you're seeing a lot more to his game. Now, the guy isn't elite when it comes to necessarily build-up play and, playmaking and qualities like that. But I don't think we need those qualities from our midfields anymore. And I think other qualities, like that ability to receive progressive passes, because that tells you everything you need to know about the movement, understanding of space, and positions certain players find themselves in. Things like goal threat, things like counter-pressing in the final third, things like quick combination plays and link-up, which is something Gallagher is really good at. And you'd think that if Pochettino has given his seal of approval, we'd keep him, right? But I think the reality is simply this, and I have been alluding to this reality throughout the entirety of the summer. We have new management, they have new ideas, and they're restructuring and rebuilding our club in their image. So if that means that we're going to cash in on all the academy grads that have done so well for us over the years, to sell these guys for big money and big profit, we're going to do that, because our transfer team, staff at this club have other candidates as replacements for a lot of these Cobham grads. And as we know, players like Vega, players like Kudus, Romeo Lavia, they're the main favourites now to come in as replacements for Gallagher. And if the plan now is to build this dominant 4-2-3-1 team, maybe we need to have a few more profiles that can play in more pivot positions. So I don't know, it's a bit of a shame for Conor, but at the same time, if he goes to a club, has a great season, he can find himself a spot in the England team for the Euros next summer. And I guess the only thing I'd say too is that, Pochettino has shown that he is more than flexible with working with the structures at this football club. But I hope we don't take the piss, because right now we're looking very thin in midfield. I'll be discussing Caicedo right after this, but we need other midfield players to sign on top too. I mean, we already have guys like Santos, Caicedo, a lot of young guys. So listen, these guys have the talent, these guys can definitely do bits, but Pochettino himself said, give me some experience. I need some of that at least, ideally some Premier League experience, and we haven't offered any of that right now. So hopefully that this gamble of selling Gallagher won't backfire in our faces, because it's going to be a lot of work these guys. That's because there's going to be a ton of work for our transfer team now to find these replacements in time. So that's the first story out the way. How do you guys feel about Gallagher now being made to plus requirements? Is this the right move? Well, the club taking our academy grads for granted again. Where do you guys fall on this? Let us know below. So right now, let's discuss these latest updates around Caicedo. Now, to give you guys a heads up, it's not the most positive news. It's a little bit negative. There isn't too much change now in terms of us getting closer now to finding an agreement with Brighton, but we have a lot of reasons behind why. Both clubs are currently at an impasse right now, and of course it all falls down to Brighton and that crazy valuation, but there's context behind why. As we know, Brighton want 100 M's for Caicedo. They've been gassed by the price that West Ham received for Declan Rice, and the last offer we presented for Caicedo was 70 million plus add-ons on top, which was quickly rejected. Now, one of the reasons as to why Brighton are playing hardball is that they're in it to play the long game. Number one, they are still trying for Levi Colwill. That is one of the main players they're hoping to sign, and there have been some interesting reports from like Brighton-focused journalists, and they've mentioned over the past week or two that Brighton still feel a little bit of confidence that, Levi Colwill would be open to a return back to Brighton. Obviously, that could help him secure his spot at the Euros. And I'm only quoting the reports here. That's not my personal opinion, but that's what some of the reports are still suggesting. Now, as I mentioned, I don't think Cole has to make anything public in terms of announcing his intentions to remain with us. Obviously, right now, he's trying to negotiate a new contract renewal, of course, and some figures from these renewal talks suggest that he could earn over 6 figures. So this will be a massive contract for him. There's no need to oversell yourself, and I'd imagine that his camp, his agents are probably telling him to keep things quiet. Don't reveal your intentions. Let's make sure we all make this money. But the reality simply is, now that Fofana's out, now that Badiashile needs a bit more time before he returns, like literally Cole has everything he needs right now. And I don't even think he would have to necessarily say something in public to confirm his intentions to remain here. I think it's just a common sense thing. I mean, Pochettino literally said over the past few days that Colwill could be one of the greatest defenders in the league. Now that is incredibly high praise. Not many players get that type of hyperbole around their name, and you're just thinking to yourself, if you're the undisputed #1 defender at our football club, you're guaranteeing your spot now for the England national team for the Euros, and you're taking advantage of an opportunity where Fofana and Badiashile, your competition, they're not here, so you could really set your mark right now. So I just don't see Cole going to Brighton whatsoever. But reports today keep saying that Brighton are here to play the long game, and they are more than fine to do so because they will happily keep Caicedo. Now, they did promise Caicedo a move away, but recently, De Zerbi's been very vocal about Brighton's ambitions for next season, and he's really stressed the importance behind securing a Europa League spot for next season. They want to have a strong squad that can compete in Europe and can compete in the Premier League as well too. And De Zerbi said that he'd love to have Caicedo remain, as well as Levi Colwill returning back to them. Now Brighton, of course, they have everything in their rights to move this way, and the reports mentioned that they will happily sell Caicedo on the final day of the window if they have to. So right now, this communicates that the pressure is now on us. Now, my opinion, can we afford to go towards alternatives of a Caicedo? Absolutely not. I don't see what these alternatives are right now. I mean, Lavia is a nice, exciting player, but to have Lavia and your Santoses and Enzo Fernandez is too young. It's too young. And after seeing this box build-up structure under Pochettino right now, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez together in that pivot is a no-brainer. It needs to happen. And as I stressed in the previous report, I don't want to see us immediately undermining Pochettino, because when we hired this guy, we also gave him certain promises, yeah? He's getting more vocal now in terms of his demands, and if we're going to put pressure on this guy to secure Champions League football, compete for silverware, you need to give Pochettino players like Caicedo. It's a 50-50 thing. It takes two to tango. Like, the club have to secure him, because who are these amazing alternatives in the market right now? So my thing is, even if we had to overpay to secure Caicedo, we should do that in confidence, knowing the fact that there's still other players to sell, and if you actually give game time and minutes to young players for next season, you could offset any losses that you get from selling certain senior players, knowing the fact that this young guy with that game time could be worth like triple the value come the end of the season. So hopefully we don't mess things up. I'm not worried per se right now, but for me, I'm just worried by the fact that we haven't signed him before preseason ends. Like, let's get the preparation right for Pochettino. He should be part of the squad right now, and hopefully by next week, we try and wrap this thing up now, because it's getting a bit silly in my opinion. So that's my opinions, that's the story out of the way. Let's now end things by discussing all the latest exit news around this football club. Right now, Lazio and Fulham are the main clubs showing interest in trying to sign him. Now, Fulham have made a bid of 4 million, which was rejected. They're coming back in again with an 8 million bid, because 8 million is the fee we want to actually sell Hudson-Odoi. Hudson has 1 year left in his deal, so it's no surprise why, combining the fact that he's on very high wages, earning over 120k per week, but naturally going to have to drop our transfer fee value for him. Who would have seen Hudson-Odoi's career ending like this at our football club? I'll discuss this in a separate video, I feel, because I've got a lot to say about Hudson-Odoi not really making it here, especially when he was the best player in Cobham, and that was when we had guys like Reese and Mounts and all these guys in the academy set up too. So it's definitely a fascinating story. But regardless, Fulham right now becoming the main favourites, because reports in Italy state that Lazio are now turning their attentions now to signing Arsene Zakarian. Now, you guys are going to be very familiar with that name. We tried to sign him last year, and essentially it boils down to this. Lazio only have one spot left for a non-EU player. Obviously, England have left the EU, so that means Hudson-Odoi or Zakarian become the only two options that could be signed, and it does seem like Lazio now are prioritising Zakarian over Hudson-Odoi, and that's because Lazio management prefer him now to replace Milinkovic-Savic, and it's a shame because Maurizio Sarri has been in contact with Hudson and did want him to sign for them. So let's see what happens and how things play out. But ideally, Hudson prefers to remain in West London. Moving to Fulham is a lot easier for him. But I think it's a massive risk when you move to clubs like Fulham, because they could easily get relegated in the next season or two. And then what happens to your career then? So let's see how the story plays out. And to end things, Henry Lawrence now is set to be making a move to the Belgium League. He'll be signing for Stan and Liege. So that's a very good move for a player that is very flexible, playing in a stupid amount of positions. I think playing in Europe, especially in a very pro-youth league like the Belgian League, is definitely the way to go, because that league is on the rise right now. And if you perform there, opportunities open up. So good luck to him. And of course, Mendel Idowu. Very interesting story. He was set to be signing for Barcelona, and he was going to join their under-21 team. However, of course, in the 11th hour, Anderlecht, they made a proposal. They've offered him a 4-year deal, and obviously the opportunity to get first team minutes in the professional game. And because Mendel Idowu is not only a genius dribbler and very skillful player, he's also an incredibly intelligent kid, where, Google it for yourself. The accolades this guy's got at a young age, blessed with ball skills, blessed with intellects. He's like a human cheat code, essentially. It's no surprise he did the smart thing of prioritizing Anderlecht over Barcelona. Yeah, the La Masia education would have been nice, but you also got an amazing education at our football club. And to play for Anderlecht right now, a club with very good prestige in Europe, and I'm going to be very excited to watch this guy's highlights now in the Belgian league, because for me, when guys like Idowu, when teenagers are getting minutes straight away, by the time he's 21 years old, if he has over 100 career apps, who knows what this guy's going to be like in the future. So my friends, they're all the latest reports today. Share your thoughts and opinions. And on that note, I'm EFC, this is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.